Hello everyone, this is our group project. It's the analysis of the S&P 500, which is a stock. My name is DJ.
My name is Camille.
And my name's Jackson.
So the purpose of this project is to determine if the sector of the stock affects market cap, if the sector of the stock affects current price, and if the market cap of the stock affects growth. We did this using the statistic tests of p-values, z-scores, t-tests, and ANOVA tables.
So our first hypothesis is, does the sector of the stock affect current price? Our null hypothesis is that the sector of the stock does not affect the current price of the stock. Our alternate hypothesis is the sector of the stock does affect the current price of the stock. Our predicted value is, or our p-value is 0, which is lower than our alpha value of 0.05. This means that there is evidence to reject the null hypothesis. The F value is larger than the F critical value, which gives us even more evidence to reject the null hypothesis.
So I created this graph using the S&P 500's current price and comparing it to the sector. And so what we can see here is that consumer cyclical makes up almost all of the growth. However, there is shared data between healthcare, industrials, and technology, with consumer cyclical being 20%, healthcare being 70%, industrials being 15%, and technology making up 40%.
Based on what we found, we can conclude F statistic is greater than F critical, as well as P being significantly below 0.05, which allows us to reject the null hypothesis. The sector of the stock has an extensive effect on its current price, which is supported by P being less than 0.05, which provides strong evidence to reject the null hypothesis.
Our second hypothesis is, does the sector of the stock affect the market cap? Our null hypothesis for this is the sector of the stock does not affect the market cap of that stock. Our alternate hypothesis is the sector of the stock does affect the market cap of that stock. Our predicted value, or our p-value, is 0.006, which is less than our alpha value of 0.05. This gives us evidence to reject the null hypothesis. Our F value is 2.487, which is larger than our F critical value of 1.85, which gives us even more evidence to reject our null hypothesis.
And in this graph, I calculated the total market cap versus the sector. Market cap being how much a company is really evaluated by the shares being multiplied by the current price. And so as we can see, technology makes up the majority, again, of this graph. And so technology being 23%, healthcare being 14%, financial services being 12%, and communication services being 10%.
As mentioned before, we found that the F statistic is greater than F critical, as well as P being less than alpha 0.05, which allows us to reject the null hypothesis. Therefore, we can conclude that the sector of a stock has a significant effect on its market cap, which again is supported by P being less than alpha 0.05, which provides strong evidence to reject the null hypothesis.
Our third hypothesis is, does the market cap of the stock affect the growth? Our null hypothesis for this is that the market cap of the stock does not affect the growth. Our alternate hypothesis is that the market cap of the stock does affect the growth. As you can see by our data, our p-value is 0.4, which is greater than our alpha of 0.05. which gives us evidence that we would fail to reject the null hypothesis. Our F value is 0.9, which is less than the critical F value of 2.6, which gives us even more evidence to fail to reject the null hypothesis.
So in this graph, it shows market cap versus revenue growth. And despite what would be believed, the market cap at 2.5 trillion, the growth is significantly lower than lower valued stocks. This might be because larger valued stocks are indeed more stable. And larger, smaller companies may be investing more and taking out more debts to grow. And you can see that reflected on the high growth on the right column, and the left column showing the total market cap.
Based on what we found, F statistic is over F critical, or F statistic is less than F critical this time, as well as P being 0.4, which is over alpha 0.05. And because F statistic is lower than F critical and P value being over 0.05, we fail to reject the null hypothesis. This allows us to conclude that there isn't enough sufficient evidence to support the claim that the market cap of the stock affects growth. This is supported by, again, P being above 0.05, which indicates that the data does not have enough evidence to reject null hypothesis.
In totality, we can see that our results of our statistical tests do show that sector does affect the market cap. Market cap does not affect revenue growth, and indeed that sector does affect current price.
A pitfall we experienced is communication, because each group member had their own schedules, but we counteracted this by getting our social medias, and setting up when to meet, which improved our productivity because we were able to work in person during our own free time.
Another challenge that we faced was that the data sheet had missing values, which resulted in a more difficult time setting up the data and making our graphs.
The final challenge that we really had was that initially we weren't sure what test to use in between t-tests, two-tailed tests, one-tailed tests, z-scores, f-tests, and p-statistics. However, with enough research and enough time, we were able really to determine that p-tests, t-tests, and critical tests were our best options. And that's our presentation.